Happy Thanksgiving week for those of you who are in the United States. In honor of the holiday, I thought I'd do something different. I am the supplier, and this is the books I am thankful for tag. I've been thinking for a couple of months what I'd do for the feature shelf video for the week of Thanksgiving, and I ultimately decided that I would take a break for this week, but I still wanted to share some books that meant a lot to me. For this first video, since I'm already thinking about doing this again next year, I'm going to say that any book that I've ever read is fair game. Next year it'll just be books that I've read in 2013. So the first book that I am thankful for is An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. Now, I want to point out that this is not my favorite John Green book, but it is the book that I was reading that led to my becoming of a nerd fighter. Before the Vlogbrothers, I didn't know anything about video blogging, I didn't watch YouTube, and I felt mostly alone in my bibliophiliness. And then I typed in the link at the end of the book and started poking around in Nerdfights area. Now I am not embarrassed to be unironically enthusiastic about stuff because I know there are at least 800,000 people out there who will get it. And those are just the nerdfighters who have YouTube accounts. The second book I am thankful for is Unwind by Neal Shusterman. This is the book that got me seated next to him, like the actual book, at the Librarians Conference in New Mexico in 2009. It was the same conference in which I started using Twitter. I'd been told I needed to earlier in the day by a librarian, and when I met Shusterman, he said, "You should follow me." And because of that and other conversation, which was the product of me hunting through the bookstores in Albuquerque for a copy of Unwind, since he was going to do a reading and he didn't have a copy, that I've had the most amazing conversations and met hundreds of people with whom I can also be unironically enthusiastic about books and reading. Read as Book-A-Day, Bookstack, Nerdy Book Club, and Title Talk hashtags on Twitter, and it's been an amazing ride that I am excited to be on. I don't think that I have many books left in my collection from my childhood. I hunted a few down, like Johnny's in the Basement by Louis Sachar, which I read 2 summers in a row and then tried for a third before my mother told me to pick something else. And Voices After Midnight by Richard Peck, which drove me crazy for the longest time when I started thinking back on books I read as a kid, because the only thing I could remember about that book was that there was an elevator and there was time travel, and I couldn't remember the title or the author at all. So really, the book from my childhood that I am most thankful for is Matilda by Roald Dahl. And this is the copy that I've had since I bought the book as a kid, and you can tell that it's loved because there is either a front cover nor a back cover, and the pages are starting to fall off. I did buy a new copy, though it doesn't have the same cover as the original one that I had, and this is the one that I read when I need to remember that all power doesn't come from social status. The last book I'm going to include that I am thankful for is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Now, I do want to say that it's not because I'm a nerd fighter that I have 2 John Green books that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for The Fault in Our Stars specifically because of the connections I was able to make both while reading it and after reading it. I remember flying home from NCTE, that is the National Council of Teachers of English, last year, reading the first 2 chapters before the book was released and thinking, wait, Augustus goes to North Central? Seriously? And I could picture him in the gym shooting free throws on his last day of dual-leggedness. Now, what you've got to understand is The Fault in Our Stars is set in the area of Indianapolis where I grew up. I literally, and I'm using this correctly, grew up in a house that is 5 minutes from the Indianapolis Museum of Art. I played in pit orchestra there, when it housed Civic Theater, and it was the reading of this book that inspired a video project that took me back to all of these places that meant something to me when I lived in Indianapolis. The best part of the project was that I went to these places with members of my family, and got to make connections between the book and my memories, and have conversations with my brothers and my sister and my mom and my dad about the book and about the places and about growing up, and it was awesome. Okay, so what books are you thankful for? There are no real categories to put these books in, just choose a few and talk about why you're thankful for them. And since this is a tag, I want to tag Catriona over at the Little Book Owl and Jack from Reading with Jack, and anyone else who feels like sharing, you can leave yours as a list in the comments or as a video response. Those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving in the US, I hope you have a wonderful holiday and that you don't engage in, well, too much gluttony and that you enjoy the football. That's it for me today. I will see you next week. Happy reading and don't forget to be awesome.